the quiet hallways of Jefferson High School, 17-year-old Maya Chen endured another day of whispered taunts and cruel laughter. Her classmates saw only an awkward girl with thick glasses and second-hand clothes, someone easy to ignore or mock. They had no idea that the same hands they watched fumble with textbooks had once channeled enough energy to level entire star systems. They couldn't know that behind those quiet brown eyes lay the accumulated knowledge of 1,000 dying civilizations, or that the girl they called weird and loser was actually humanity's most closely guarded secret. For Maya wasn't just any teenager struggling through high school. She was the product of humanity's first contact with an ancient cosmic force, a being of pure energy that had chosen Earth as its final resting place. When that entity merged with a newborn human child 17 years ago, it created something the galaxy had never seen before. A human with the power to reshape reality itself. Now, as alien fleets gather at the edge of human space and galactic empires prepare for what they believe will be an easy conquest of the primitive species called humans, Maya Chen sits in her chemistry class, pretending to struggle with basic equations while cosmic energies pulse beneath her skin. The bullies who torment her daily have no idea they're picking on the one person who could either save their world or watch it burn. The galaxy is about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon isn't their technology, their military, or their determination. It's a 17-year-old girl who just wants to fit in, but who carries within her the power to make gods kneel and empires tremble. They mocked her at school. Soon, they'll fear her throughout the galaxy. This is the story of Maya Chen, and how one quiet human girl became the universe's most terrifying legend. Maya Chen pressed her back against the cold metal of her locker, watching as Jessica Martinez and her friends approached with the same predatory smiles they wore every Tuesday after lunch. The hallway was mostly empty now, just a few stragglers heading to their next classes, none of them interested in helping the school's favorite target. "Look what we have here," Jessica said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Maya the freak, hiding by her locker again. "Did you finish my chemistry homework like I told you to?" Maya clutched her worn backpack tighter, feeling the familiar weight of dread settle in her stomach. "I can't keep doing your homework for you, Jessica. Mrs. Patterson is starting to notice that your answers are too similar to mine." The popular girl's smile vanished, replaced by a cold sneer. "Are you saying no to me, Chen? Because last I checked, freaks like you don't get to say no to people like me." She stepped closer, her designer perfume overwhelming Maya's senses. "Maybe you need a reminder of where you stand in this school." Before Maya could react, Jessica's hand shot out and knocked her backpack to the floor, sending notebooks and pencils scattering across the linoleum. The other girls laughed as Maya dropped to her knees, desperately trying to gather her scattered belongings. This was the routine: humiliate her, make her scramble, remind her that she was powerless. But Maya wasn't powerless, not even close. As Jessica's foot came down hard on Maya's hand, crushing her fingers against the floor, something stirred deep inside the quiet girl's chest. It was warm at first, then hot, then burning with an intensity that made her gasp. For just a moment, the fluorescent lights above them flickered, and the metal lockers along the wall groaned as if under tremendous pressure. Maya closed her eyes, forcing herself to breathe, to stay calm, to remember what Agent Morrison had taught her during their weekly sessions. Control was everything. Without control, people died. Lots of people. "Please," Maya whispered, pulling her crushed hand free from under Jessica's shoe. "Just leave me alone." Jessica laughed, but there was something nervous in the sound now. She had felt it too, that moment when the air seemed to thicken, when the very building seemed to hold its breath. What was that supposed to be? Freak? Some kind of magic trick? Maya gathered the last of her things and stood up slowly, keeping her eyes down. Nothing. It was nothing. "That's right," Jessica said. But she was already backing away, her friends following suit. "You're nothing, Maya Chen. Don't forget it." They left her standing alone in the hallway, but Maya could feel Jessica's confused gaze lingering on her until they turned the corner. She waited until she was sure they were gone before allowing herself to slump against her locker, her whole body shaking with the effort of maintaining control. Her phone buzzed, a text from Agent Morrison. "Report after school, same place. We need to talk." Maya deleted the message and headed to her next class, wondering if Morrison had somehow detected what had almost happened in the hallway. The government agents who monitored her were very good at their job, But they couldn't watch her every second of every day. They couldn't see the way the cosmic energy inside her responded to her emotions, growing stronger with each passing day. Chemistry class passed in a blur of molecular formulas and periodic tables. Subjects that seemed laughably simple when you carried the scientific knowledge of 1,000 extinct civilizations in your head. Maya pretended to take notes while her mind wandered to the dreams that had been plaguing her lately. Visions of vast star fleets moving through space, of alien generals planning humanity's destruction, of a countdown that was rapidly approaching zero. The final bell rang at 3:15, and Maya made her way to the abandoned warehouse on the edge of town where she met with Agent Morrison every week. She found him waiting in the same spot as always, a tall man in a dark suit who looked like he'd stepped out of a government conspiracy movie. "You're late," Morrison said without looking up from his tablet. "Jessica Martinez decided to use me as her personal stress ball again," Maya replied, sitting down on the metal folding chair across from him. "Sorry." Morrison's fingers paused over his tablet screen. "Did anything unusual happen during this encounter?" Maya hesitated. She could lie, she was good at lying by now, but Morrison would probably find out anyway. The man had resources she couldn't even imagine. The lights flickered. "Just for a second. Show me your hand." Maya extended her left hand, revealing the dark bruises already forming across her knuckles where Jessica had stepped on her. Morrison photographed the injuries with his phone, then made some notes on his tablet. "Maya, we've talked about this. Emotional control is the most important thing we can teach you. More important than your studies, more important than maintaining your cover, more important than anything else in your life right now." "I know," Maya said quietly. "I stopped it. Nothing happened. This time," Morrison said. "But you're getting stronger, aren't you? The energy inside you, it's growing." Maya nodded reluctantly. There was no point in denying it. Every week, the power felt more intense, more eager to break free from the mental barriers she'd built around it. Sometimes she would wake up in the middle of the night to find her bedroom windows glowing with soft golden light that emanated from her skin. Other times, she would accidentally melt her alarm clock or cause her textbooks to levitate while she slept. "We're running out of time," Morrison said, his voice heavy with concern. "The deep space monitoring stations have detected massive fleet movements in the Andromeda sector, ships from at least 6 different alien civilizations, all converging on our solar system. How long do we have?" Maya asked, though she already suspected the answer. 3 weeks, maybe less." Maya felt the familiar weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders like a heavy blanket. 17 years ago, when the cosmic entity known as the Weaver had chosen Earth as its final resting place, it had merged with a newborn human childer. The Weaver had been the last survivor of an ancient race that had existed since the universe was young. Beings of pure energy who had shaped galaxies and guided the evolution of countless species. When the Weaver died, it passed on its vast power and knowledge to Maya, making her something unprecedented in galactic history, a human with the abilities of a cosmic god. The alien civilizations that had once feared and respected the Weaver's people had spent the last 17 years searching for the new host. And they had finally found her. "They think they're coming to destroy a primitive species," Morrison continued. "They have no idea what's waiting for them here. But Maya, you need to understand when this starts, there will be no going back to your normal life. No more high school, no more pretending to be just another teenager. The whole galaxy will know what you are." Maya thought about Jessica and her cruel friends, about the teachers who looked right through her, about the life she'd never really had because of the secret she carried. Maybe it was time to stop pretending. "What do you need me to do?" she asked. Morrison's expression softened slightly. "For now, just keep practicing your control. We've prepared a facility where you can train without worrying about causing accidental damage. And Maya," he leaned forward, his voice serious, "when the time comes, remember that you're not just defending Earth. You're showing the galaxy what humanity is capable of. Don't let them underestimate us." The drive home was quiet, Maya's thoughts churning as she watched the familiar suburban landscape roll past her window. Her adoptive parents, the Chens, were good people who loved her deeply, but they knew nothing about what she really was. As far as they were concerned, she was just their slightly awkward daughter who struggled to make friends and spent too much time reading. That evening at dinner, her adoptive mother Lynn asked about her day with the same gentle concern she'd shown for the past 17 years. Maya gave her the same vague answers she always did, leaving out the part about Jessica's bullying and Morrison's grim predictions about alien invasions. "You seem tired, sweetheart," Lynn said, reaching over to brush a strand of hair from Maya's face. "Are you feeling all right?" "Just stressed about school," Maya replied, which wasn't entirely a lie. High school was stressful, just not in the way her mother imagined. Later that night, after her parents had gone to bed, Maya sat by her bedroom window and stared up at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were moving through space with the intention of destroying her world. They had no idea that their target could see them coming, that every ship and every weapon was as clear to her enhanced senses as if they were right outside her window. She placed her hand against the glass and felt the cosmic energy pulse beneath her skin, warm and eager, and increasingly difficult to contain. 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, the quiet life of Maya Chen would be over forever, and the galaxy would discover what happened when someone was foolish enough to threaten humanity's home. For now, though, she was still just a 17-year-old girl who had to face Jessica Martinez again tomorrow morning. The irony wasn't lost on her. She could probably unmake entire star systems with a thought, but she still couldn't figure out how to handle a high school bully. Maya closed her eyes and practiced the meditation techniques Morrison had taught her, slowly pushing the energy back down into the depths of her consciousness, where it would wait, patient and ready, for the moment when she would finally need to use it. The countdown had begun. The alarm system at NORAD's Cheyenne Mountain facility had never sounded quite like this before. Deep, resonant tones that seemed to vibrate through the rock itself, accompanied by flashing red lights that turned the underground command center into something from a nightmare. General Patricia Hayes stood in front of the massive display screens, watching as dozens of unidentified contacts appeared at the edge of the solar system. "Talk to me, Collins," she barked at the young technician frantically typing at his workstation. "They just appeared out of nowhere, ma'am," Sergeant Collins replied, his voice tight with barely controlled panic. "No engine signatures, no heat trails, nothing. 1 second the sensors were clear. The next second we had 47 contacts moving in formation toward Earth. Size estimates? The smallest ones are about the size of aircraft carriers. The largest." Collins swallowed hard. "The largest is approximately the size of Manhattan, ma'am." General Hayes felt a cold weight settle in her stomach. She had been briefed about this possibility 17 years ago, when she first received her security clearance for Project Lighthouse. But she had always hoped this day would never come. She picked up the red phone that connected directly to the President's emergency line. "Mr. President, this is General Hayes at NORAD. Operation Lighthouse protocols are now in effect." "Yes, sir. They're here." 2 hours later, Maya Chen was pulled out of her American literature class by Agent Morrison and 3 other government officials she didn't recognize. The entire school watched in stunned silence as the quiet, unremarkable girl they had barely noticed was escorted to a convoy of black SUVs waiting in the parking lot. "Is this it?" Maya asked as they sped through downtown Denver, heading toward the military installation that had been prepared for this exact scenario. "Are they here?" 47 ships, Morrison replied tersely. "They'll reach Earth's atmosphere in approximately 6 hours. We need to get you to the facility and begin immediate preparation protocols." Maya stared out the window at the city rushing past, thinking about all the people going about their normal lives, with no idea that their world was about to change forever. In coffee shops and office buildings, parents were picking up their children from school and teenagers were complaining about homework. None of them knew that their continued existence might depend entirely on what a 17-year-old girl decided to do in the next few hours. The facility was hidden beneath a mountain in Colorado, accessible only through a series of heavily guarded checkpoints and elevator rides that seemed to last forever. When they finally reached the main operations center, Maya was amazed by the sheer scale of it. The chamber was the size of several football fields, filled with banks of computers, holographic displays, and dozens of technicians monitoring every possible form of communication and sensor data. In the center of it all stood a raised platform surrounded by what looked like the most advanced technology Maya had ever seen. Crystalline formations that hummed with barely contained energy, quantum processors that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and at the very center, a simple chair that had been designed specifically for her. "Welcome to Project Lighthouse," said a woman in a crisp military uniform. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, no relation, despite the name. I've been in charge of this facility since its construction began 15 years ago." Maya looked around at the assembled team of scientists, military officers, and technicians, all of whom were staring at her with expressions ranging from hope to fear to barely concealed awe. These people had spent their careers preparing for this moment, and now it was finally here. "What do you need me to do?" Maya asked. Dr. Chen gestured toward the platform. "We've detected incoming transmissions from the alien fleet. They're broadcasting in over 300 different languages, but the message is the same in all of them. They want to talk." "To me?" "To the successor," Dr. Chen corrected. "That's what they're calling you." Apparently, word has spread through the galaxy that the Weaver's power has found a new host. Some of the species out there remember the old days, when the Weaver's people kept the peace between the stars. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. The memories inherited from the Weaver were vast and often confusing, but she remembered enough to know that the cosmic entities like her predecessor had been both revered and feared throughout the galaxy. They had been the ultimate arbiters of conflicts between species, capable of ending wars with a single thought, or reshaping entire solar systems to prevent catastrophic collisions between civilizations. "They want to test me," Maya said, the knowledge appearing in her mind as if someone else had whispered it to her. "They need to know if I'm worthy of the power I carry." Dr. Chen nodded grimly. "Our xenobiology experts have theorized that there are probably factions among the approaching fleet. Some may genuinely want to establish diplomatic relations with the new successor. Others," she paused, choosing her words carefully, "others may prefer to eliminate a potential threat before it becomes too powerful to stop." Maya stepped onto the platform and sat down in the chair that had been built for this moment. Immediately, the crystalline formations around her began to resonate with the energy inside her, creating harmonics that she could feel in her bones. The quantum processors came online, their multidimensional architecture allowing her consciousness to expand beyond the normal limitations of human perception. For the first time in her life, Maya allowed herself to fully embrace the power that had been dormant inside her for 17 years. The sensation was overwhelming, like trying to contain an ocean in a teacup. Her awareness expanded outward through space, touching the minds of every living being in the approaching fleet. She could sense their thoughts, their fears, their intentions. The Zephyrians were ancient and wise, approaching with genuine curiosity about humanity's newest member. The Korathex Empire sent their ships reluctantly, more interested in maintaining the existing power balance than welcoming a new cosmic force. The Vex were young and aggressive, convinced that humanity was too primitive to produce a worthy successor and eager to prove their superiority through force. But it was the fourth presence that concerned Maya the most. Hidden among the other fleets was a ship that felt different, older, hungrier. Its occupants were something she couldn't quite identify, beings that existed partially outside normal space-time and radiated an aura of barely contained malevolence. "I can hear them," Maya said, her voice echoing strangely through the chamber as the power flowed through her. "They're not all here for the same reason." On the screens around her, technicians tracked the incoming transmissions as Maya's enhanced abilities allowed her to decode and understand languages that had never been heard on Earth before. The first formal communication came from Ambassador Thessarian of the Zephyrian Collective, a being whose thoughts felt ancient and patient, successor of the Weaver. The alien voice said through the translation systems, "We greet you across the void of space. It has been 3,000 of your years since one of the cosmic shepherds has walked among us. We come to witness your awakening and offer our guidance, as was promised in the old treaties." Maya felt Dr. Chen's hand on her shoulder, grounding her to the present moment. "What do I tell them?" "Tell them the truth," Dr. Chen replied. "That you're still learning to control your abilities, but that you're willing to meet with them under peaceful conditions." Maya opened her mind to the communication array, feeling her consciousness stretch across the vacuum of space to touch the alien ships. When she spoke, her words were transmitted simultaneously in dozens of different languages, each one perfectly adapted to the linguistic structures of the receiving species. "I am Maya Chen, successor to the Weaver. I greet you in the name of humanity and acknowledge your right to witness the awakening of a new cosmic shepherd. However, I must warn you that Earth is under my protection, and any attempt to harm my people or my world will be met with the full force of my power." The response was immediate and varied. The Zephyrians transmitted what could only be described as cosmic approval, a harmonious frequency that made the air itself seem to sing. The Korathex Empire sent a more formal acknowledgement, respectful but cautious. The Vex response was predictably aggressive, a challenge to prove her worthiness through combat. But the fourth presence, the one Maya couldn't quite identify, remained silent. She could feel it watching, evaluating, waiting for something she couldn't understand. "There's something else out there," Maya said to the assembled team. "Something that doesn't belong with the other fleets. It feels wrong." General Hayes stepped forward, her expression grim. "Our deep space sensors have detected anomalous readings from one of the ships. Energy signatures that don't match any known propulsion systems or weapons. Our best guess is that it's some kind of interdimensional technology." Maya closed her eyes and extended her awareness toward the mysterious ship, trying to understand what she was sensing. The moment her consciousness touched its hull, she was flooded with images that made her gasp and jerk back in her chair. Darkness spreading between stars like a cosmic infection. Entire civilizations going silent overnight. Their planets left as empty husks drifting through space. Ancient evils that fed on the life force of entire species, growing stronger with each conquest. And behind it all, a presence that was older than the galaxy itself. Patient and cunning and absolutely ruthless. "They're not here to test me," Maya said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They're here because of what's following them." The chamber fell silent except for the humming of the quantum processors and the steady beeping of monitoring equipment. Dr. Chen leaned closer to Maya's chair. "What do you mean? What's following them?" Maya opened her eyes, and for a moment they blazed with cosmic fire before returning to their normal brown. "The Devourers. They're real. And they're coming. The fleets out there aren't here to challenge me, they're here to hide behind me. They want to see if I'm strong enough to stop what's coming for all of us." As if summoned by her words, every sensor in the facility suddenly screamed warnings. On the screens, showing the edge of the solar system, new contacts were appearing. Dozens of them, then hundreds, dark shapes that seemed to absorb light itself, as they moved inexorably toward Earth. The real test was about to begin. The emergency sirens that echoed through the underground facility seemed almost laughable compared to the cosmic alarm bells ringing in Maya's enhanced consciousness. Through the quantum processors and crystalline amplifiers, she could sense the approaching darkness with a clarity that was both gift and curse. The Devourers moved through space like a cancer, leaving nothing but empty void in their wake. "How many?" General Hayes demanded, her voice cutting through the chaos of technicians scrambling to process the sensor data. "We've lost count," Sergeant Collins replied from his workstation, his face pale with shock. "The computer systems can't process them fast enough. They're not individual ships, they're some kind of collective consciousness housed in dark matter constructs. Our instruments can barely detect them, but the successor's readings suggest there are thousands of them." Maya gripped the arms of her chair as waves of information flooded her mind. Each Devourer ship was like a wound in reality itself, a place where the normal laws of physics simply didn't apply. They fed on life energy, growing stronger with each world they consumed, and they had been spreading across the galaxy for millennia. "The other fleets are pulling back," Dr. Chen reported, monitoring the alien communications. "Ambassador Thessarian is requesting permission to form a defensive perimeter around Earth. The Korathex Empire is offering their battle cruisers, and even the Vex have stopped issuing challenges. They're all looking to you for guidance, Maya." Maya closed her eyes and reached out with her consciousness, touching the minds of the alien commanders throughout the gathered fleet. She could feel their fear, their desperation, their hope that the legends about the cosmic shepherds were true. Some of these species had been fleeing the Devourers for generations, always staying one step ahead of the consuming darkness. "Tell them to maintain their positions but do not engage," Maya said, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated through the quantum field. "I need to understand what we're facing before we make any moves." She extended her awareness toward the approaching Devourer fleet, carefully probing their defenses while trying to avoid detection. The moment her consciousness made contact with the nearest construct, she was overwhelmed by a sensation of absolute wrongness. These beings existed in a state of perpetual hunger, consuming not just matter and energy but the very concept of existence itself. They left behind regions of space where reality became uncertain, where the fundamental forces that held the universe together began to break down. But worse than their cosmic appetite was their intelligence. These weren't mindless monsters, they were ancient, cunning, and patient. They had been watching the galaxy for eons, waiting for the perfect moment to begin their final harvest. The appearance of a new cosmic shepherd had forced them to accelerate their timeline, but they had been preparing for this possibility for thousands of years. Maya, Dr. Chen's voice seemed to come from very far away. Your biometric readings are spiking. Are you all right? Maya opened her eyes and realized that the air around her chair was shimmering with barely contained energy. The crystalline formations were glowing so brightly that several technicians had to shield their eyes, and the quantum processors were running calculations at speeds that should have been impossible. I can see their strategy, Maya said, her voice echoing with cosmic harmonics. They're not just coming to destroy Earth. They're using us as bait to draw in every remaining fleet in the galaxy. Once all the major powers are gathered here, they'll consume everything at once and eliminate any possibility of organized resistance. General Hayes stepped closer to the platform, her expression grim. Can you stop them? Maya hesitated. The power of the Weaver was vast, but it had been designed for creation and protection, not warfare against entities that existed to unmake reality itself. The cosmic memories she carried contained knowledge of previous encounters with the Devourers, and the results had been mixed. Even the ancient cosmic shepherds had struggled against this particular form of evil. I don't know, she admitted, but I have to try. She reached out through the communication array, broadcasting on all frequencies that the alien fleets would recognize. Her voice carried across the vacuum of space, touching every ship in the assembled armada. This is Maya Chen, successor to the Weaver and guardian of this solar system. I know why you've come here, and I know what you're running from. The Devourers have forced you to gather in one place, hoping to eliminate all resistance in a single strike. But they've made one crucial mistake. She paused, feeling the attention of thousands of alien minds focused on her words. They've underestimated humanity. We don't run from fights we can't win, we find a way to win them anyway. I'm going to need every ship, every weapon, and every tactical advantage you can provide. In return, I'll show you what happens when someone threatens our home. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The Zephyrian Collective began transmitting detailed battle plans based on their ancient knowledge of Devourer tactics. The Korathex Empire opened their weapon lockers and shared shield harmonics that could theoretically disrupt dark matter constructs. Even the aggressive Vex offered their most advanced fighters and their willingness to serve as shock troops. But the most surprising response came from the mysterious fourth ship that had been hiding among the other fleets. As Maya's consciousness touched its hull, she was startled to discover that it contained not aliens, but humans. Advanced humans from Earth's far future, who had traveled back through time to witness this crucial moment in galactic history. Successor, came a voice through the temporal communications array. This is Commander Sarah Reeves of the Terran Temporal Corps, operating under emergency protocols from the year 2847. In our timeline, this moment determines whether humanity becomes a force for galactic peace, or whether the galaxy falls to eternal darkness. We're here to provide support and information that might tip the balance. Dr. Chen's jaw dropped. Time travelers? From Earth's future? Maya absorbed the implications while simultaneously coordinating with the alien fleets. Through the quantum processors, she could manage dozens of conversations simultaneously, assigning defensive positions and sharing tactical data at the speed of thought. But underlying all the military preparations was a growing sense of urgency. The Devourers were accelerating their approach, and she could feel reality beginning to warp around them as they drew closer. Commander Reeves, Maya said through the temporal link, what can you tell me about how this battle ends in your timeline? That's the problem, Successor. In our records, the details of this engagement are classified at the highest levels. We know that you succeed in driving back the Devourers, but we don't know how. The method you use is considered too dangerous to record, even in our most secure archives. Maya felt a chill that had nothing to do with the underground facility's climate control. If her victory was too dangerous to record, what exactly was she going to have to do? The answer began to emerge as she delved deeper into the cosmic memories inherited from the Weaver. Hidden among the knowledge of galactic civilizations and cosmic phenomena was information about the deepest levels of reality itself. The universe wasn't just made of matter and energy. It was built on a foundation of pure concept, the underlying ideas that gave existence its shape and meaning. The Devourers fed on this conceptual layer, gradually unmaking the very idea of existence itself. But that same layer could be manipulated by beings with sufficient power and understanding. A cosmic shepherd could theoretically reach down into the conceptual foundation of reality and redesign it, change the fundamental rules that governed how the universe worked. The risk, of course, was that making such changes might unmake everything else in the process. Maya. Agent Morrison's voice cut through her contemplation. He had been quietly monitoring from the edge of the chamber, but now he approached the platform with obvious concern. Whatever you're thinking about doing, remember that there are 8 billion people on this planet counting on you to keep them safe. Maya looked around at the assembled team scientists and soldiers who had spent years preparing for this moment, alien allies who had crossed vast distances seeking hope, and time travelers from humanity's future who had risked everything to witness this crucial battle. The weight of responsibility was almost overwhelming, but it was also strangely liberating. For 17 years, she had hidden what she was, pretending to be normal while carrying the power of gods beneath her skin. She had endured bullying and isolation, always afraid of what might happen if she lost control. But now, for the first time in her life, the situation actually called for everything she was capable of. Initiate full power protocols, she said to Dr. Chen. Remove all the limiters and safety systems. I need complete access to the quantum processing array. Maya, that's extremely dangerous. Without the limiters, the feedback could kill me. Maya finished. I know. But if I can't access my full power, we're all dead anyway. At least this way, we have a chance. As the safety systems came offline one by one, Maya felt the cosmic energy within her begin to surge. The crystalline formations around her platform began to resonate at frequencies that made the entire mountain tremble. On the screens showing the approaching Devourer fleet, new readings appeared, energy signatures that defied classification, emanating from the quiet 17-year-old girl who had once been afraid of high school bullies. The real battle was about to begin, and Maya Chen was finally ready to show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. The moment Maya released the final safety limiters, reality around her began to bend and twist in ways that defied every law of physics known to human science. The quantum processors, no longer constrained by their protective protocols, suddenly existed in 17 different dimensions simultaneously. The crystalline formations sang with harmonics that resonated across multiple layers of space-time, and Maya herself became something more than human, a focal point where cosmic energy and mortal consciousness merged into something unprecedented. Through her enhanced awareness, she could perceive the Devourer fleet with perfect clarity. Each dark construct was a masterwork of malevolent engineering, designed to consume not just matter and energy but the very concepts that gave those things meaning. They moved through space like holes in reality, leaving trails of nothingness where the fundamental forces of the universe simply ceased to function. First wave contact in 30 seconds, reported Sergeant Collins, his voice tight with controlled panic. The lead Devourer constructs are already affecting our sensor arrays. Gravity readings are becoming inconsistent within a 1,000-kilometer radius of their position. Maya reached out through the communication array, coordinating the massive defensive effort that was forming around Earth. The Zephyrian Collective had deployed their Harmony ships in a complex geometric pattern designed to reinforce local space-time stability. The Korathex Empire's battle cruisers formed a second layer of defense, their quantum torpedo launchers already charging with enough energy to level small moons. The Vex fighters swarmed between the larger ships like angry wasps, their pilots eager for combat despite the impossible odds they faced. But it was the ship from humanity's future that provided the most crucial intelligence. Commander Reeves transmitted detailed scans of Devourer technology from her timeline, revealing weaknesses that had taken centuries to discover. The constructs have a critical vulnerability, Reeves reported through the temporal communications link. They maintain cohesion through a network of conceptual anchors, ideas that bind their dark matter components together. If you can identify and target these anchors, you might be able to destabilize entire sections of their fleet. Maya absorbed this information while simultaneously managing the defensive coordination. Through the quantum field, she could feel the approaching darkness like a weight pressing against her consciousness. The Devourers weren't just coming to destroy, they were coming to feast. Every living being in the solar system represented a source of nourishment that would make them stronger for their next conquest. All ships, prepare for engagement. Maya broadcast across the combined fleet. Remember, we're not just fighting for our own survival, Every species in the galaxy is watching this battle. Show them what happens when free peoples stand together against the darkness. The first exchange of fire lit up the space between Earth and Mars with energies that hadn't been seen in the galaxy for thousands of years. Zephyrian harmony cannons fired streams of pure order, temporarily stabilizing the reality distortions around the nearest devourer constructs. Corathek's quantum torpedoes struck dark matter hulls with explosions that created brief rifts in space-time itself. Vex fighters darted between the massive enemy ships, their plasma cannons scratching at armor that seemed to absorb conventional attacks. But the Devourer's response was swift and devastating. Dark energy beams lanced out from the constructs, and wherever they struck, ships didn't just explode, they ceased to exist entirely, as if they had never been built in the first place. Entire squadrons of fighters vanished from reality, leaving behind only confused memories in the minds of their former squadmates. "We're losing ships faster than our sensors can track," General Hayes reported grimly. "Conventional weapons aren't effective against their armor, and their reality-warping abilities are making it impossible to maintain formation coherence." Maya could sense the growing desperation among the Allied fleet commanders. These were experienced warriors who had faced impossible odds before, but the Devourers represented something beyond their understanding. How do you fight an enemy that could simply decide you had never existed? The answer came from the deepest layers of the cosmic memories she carried. The Weaver's people had faced the Devourers before, in the early epochs of the galaxy. When reality itself was still young and malleable, the key wasn't to fight them with conventional weapons, it was to fight them on the conceptual level where their power originated. Maya closed her eyes and reached deep into the quantum field that surrounded Earth, feeling for the fundamental concepts that gave the local region of space-time its structure. Matter, energy, gravity, the strong and weak nuclear forces, all of these were just expressions of deeper ideas that existed in the conceptual foundation of reality. "Dr. Chen," Maya said, her voice carrying harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. "I need you to evacuate all non-essential personnel from this chamber. What I'm about to do is going to rewrite the local laws of physics, and I can't guarantee that baseline humans will survive the process." "Maya, what are you planning?" "I'm going to show the Devourers what happens when someone fights fire with fire," Maya replied. "They think they can unmake reality. Let's see how they handle someone who can remake it." She reached out with her consciousness, touching the conceptual anchors that Commander Reeves had identified within the Devourer fleet. Each anchor was a crystallized idea, concepts like hunger, consumption, and inevitable victory that gave the dark constructs their power and coherence. But ideas could be changed, redefined, turned against themselves. Working at the speed of thought through the quantum processors, Maya began to alter these fundamental concepts. She took the Devourer's concept of hunger and twisted it into satiation. Suddenly, entire sections of their fleet found themselves satisfied rather than ravenous, their drive to consume replaced by a strange lethargy. She transformed their idea of inevitable victory into impossible defeat, and watched as their tactical systems began to fail, unable to process strategies that their own nature now declared hopeless. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Dozens of Devourer constructs simply stopped moving, their dark matter components losing cohesion as the ideas that bound them together collapsed. Others began to cannibalize themselves. Their twisted hunger turned inward in ways their designers had never anticipated. But the collective intelligence behind the Devourer fleet was ancient and cunning. It recognized what Maya was doing and began to adapt, creating new conceptual anchors faster than she could identify and alter them. Worse, it started to fight back on the same level, reaching out through dark energy tendrils to attack the concepts that gave Earth's reality its stability. Maya felt the assault like a physical blow, her consciousness reeling as the Devourers attempted to unmake the very idea of gravity in the space around Earth. Only her desperate counterattack prevented the planet from either flying apart or collapsing into itself. "They're adapting to your tactics," Commander Reeves warned through the temporal link. "In our timeline records, this is where the battle reaches its turning point. You're going to have to make a choice that fundamentally changes what you are." Maya could sense what Reeves meant. To defeat the Devourers on their own level, she would need to become something like them, a being that existed primarily in the conceptual realm, rather than in normal space-time. It would give her the power to remake reality on a galactic scale, but it would also mean giving up her humanity in any meaningful sense. She thought about her adoptive parents, waiting at home and hoping their daughter would come back safely. She thought about Jessica Martinez and the other students at Jefferson High, going about their normal lives while cosmic forces battled for their survival. She thought about 8 billion people who had no idea that their continued existence depended on what one 17-year-old girl decided to do in the next few minutes. All ships, fall back to minimum safe distance. Maya broadcast to the combined fleet. I'm going to try something that might destabilize the entire local region of space-time. If this goes wrong. She paused, trying to find words for something that had no precedent in galactic history. If this goes wrong, make sure someone remembers what we tried to do here. She released her final mental barriers and allowed her consciousness to expand beyond the boundaries of her human brain, merging completely with the cosmic power she had carried since birth. The sensation was indescribable, like becoming one with the universe itself, feeling every star and planet as part of her own body, understanding the underlying mathematics that governed the dance of galaxies. In that moment of transcendence, Maya reached into the deepest layer of reality and began to rewrite the fundamental rules that governed the local region of space-time. She didn't just alter concepts, she created entirely new ones. Where the devourers represented hunger and consumption, she introduced ideas of growth and symbiosis. Where they brought darkness and negation, she wove light and affirmation into the very fabric of space. The battle that followed existed on a level beyond physical comprehension. It was fought with weapons made of pure concept, in dimensions that existed between the spaces of normal reality. Maya and the collective intelligence of the Devourer fleet clashed across multiple layers of existence simultaneously, each trying to impose their vision of what the universe should be. But Maya had something the Devourers didn't hope. Not just her own hope, but the combined hope of every species in the assembled fleet, every human being on Earth, every living thing that refused to accept defeat in the face of overwhelming darkness. That hope became a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, a force that could create new realities simply because it refused to accept that the current reality was fixed and unchangeable. Slowly, impossibly, the tide of battle began to turn. When Maya opened her eyes, the first thing she noticed was the silence, not the absence of sound, but the presence of something deeper, a fundamental harmony that seemed to resonate through the very structure of space itself. The quantum processors around her chair were still humming, but their song had changed, becoming something more musical than mechanical. "Status report," she said, her voice carrying only the faintest echo of the cosmic harmonics that had transformed her during the battle. Dr. Chen approached the platform cautiously, as if afraid that sudden movements might disrupt whatever miracle had just occurred. "Maya? Are you still you?" The question was more profound than it might have seemed. Maya could feel the vast cosmic power still flowing through her consciousness, but she could also feel her connection to her human identity, carefully preserved and protected throughout her transcendence. She was still Maya Chen, 17-year-old girl who worried about homework and struggled with bullies. She was also something more, a being capable of reshaping reality with a thought, but the girl remained at the core of everything else. "I'm still me," Maya confirmed, and felt the collective sigh of relief from everyone in the chamber. "But I'm also more than I was before. The power isn't separate from me anymore, it's integrated, part of who I am rather than something I carry." On the screens around the chamber, the displays showed a solar system that had been fundamentally transformed. Where the Devourer fleet had once spread its darkness, there was now something unprecedented in galactic history, a region of space where reality itself had been reinforced and elevated. Stars burned brighter and more steadily. The space between planets hummed with a subtle energy that seemed to encourage life rather than merely permit it. "The Devourers?" General Hayes asked. "Gone," Maya replied. "Not destroyed. Exactly. Transformed. I reached into their deepest conceptual foundations and changed what they were. Instead of beings that consumed existence, they became beings that nurture it. Some of them chose to accept the change and are already spreading throughout the galaxy, healing the damage they caused over the millennia. Others rejected the transformation and simply faded away, unable to exist in a reality that no longer supported their nature. Commander Reeves's voice came through the temporal communications array, thick with emotion. Successor, our instruments are detecting changes in the timeline itself. The future we came from, the centuries of war and struggle against the devourer threat, they're being replaced by something entirely different. Peaceful first contacts with dozens of species, unprecedented technological advancement, an age of galactic cooperation that surpasses anything in our historical records. Maya nodded, having sensed those changes herself as reality restructured itself around her new paradigm. The galaxy needed a reset. Too many species had been driven to desperation by the devourer threat. Too many civilizations had turned inward and fearful. By changing the fundamental nature of the threat, I've given everyone a chance to start over. Ambassador Thessarian's harmonic voice joined the conversation from the Zephyrian flagship. Successor. The collective wishes to express our gratitude. For 3,000 years, our people have lived in the shadow of the devourer threat. To see it not just ended, but transformed into something beneficial, it is a miracle beyond our ability to comprehend. Similar messages poured in from across the assembled fleet. The Korathex Empire requested formal diplomatic relations with Earth, offering technological exchanges that would advance human civilization by centuries. The Vex, their aggressive nature tempered by witnessing Maya's power, sought to become protectors of the new galactic order, rather than conquerors within it. Even species that hadn't participated in the battle were sending communications as word of Earth's miracle, spread across faster-than-light communication networks. But it was the message from Earth itself that touched Maya most deeply. Her adoptive parents, Lin and David Chen, appeared on one of the smaller screens, their faces showing a mixture of confusion, worry, and desperate hope. "Maya," Lin said, her voice breaking slightly. "We don't understand what's happening. The news is saying things about alien invasions and cosmic battles, but all we know is that our daughter is somewhere we can't reach her. Please, sweetheart, if you can hear this, just tell us you're okay." Maya felt tears she hadn't realized she was crying. Throughout all the cosmic transcendence and reality-altering power, she was still the girl who loved her parents and wanted nothing more than to hug them and tell them everything was going to be all right. "Can we establish a secure communication link to my parents?" she asked Dr. Chen. "Of course, but Maya, there are security protocols." "The security protocols were designed to protect Earth from alien threats," Maya interrupted gently. "Given that I just resolved the greatest alien threat in galactic history, I think we can make an exception." The communication link activated, and suddenly Maya was looking at her parents' familiar faces. They looked older than she remembered, worn down by hours of worry and confusion, but their eyes lit up with relief the moment they saw her. "Mom, Dad," Maya said, allowing her voice to carry all the love and reassurance she felt. "I'm safe. I'm still your daughter. And I'm coming home soon. I had to help with something important first." "Are you really?" David struggled for words. "The things they're saying on the news, about you being some kind of cosmic guardian. I'm still the same girl who needs help with calculus homework and burns toast when I try to make breakfast," Maya said with a smile. "I just happen to also be able to do some other things now. We'll talk about it when I get home, I promise." After the call ended, Maya turned her attention to the larger implications of what had occurred. Earth was no longer an isolated world on the outskirts of galactic civilization. Humanity had suddenly become the protectors of a new galactic order, with Maya herself serving as the focal point for unprecedented cooperation between species. "What happens now?" Agent Morrison asked. "The whole world knows about you, and half the galaxy wants to establish diplomatic relations with Earth. We're not exactly prepared for that level of interstellar attention." Maya stood up from the platform, feeling the cosmic power settle into a stable configuration within her consciousness. She was fully in control now, no longer afraid of accidentally melting alarm clocks or causing windows to glow in her sleep. The power was part of her, as natural and controllable as breathing. "Now we build something better," she said. "Earth becomes the capital of a new galactic civilization, one based on cooperation instead of competition, on growth instead of conquest. We share our knowledge, learn from other species, and work together to heal the damage that centuries of warfare have caused throughout the galaxy." "Doctor," Chen shook her head in wonder. "You're talking about changing the fundamental nature of galactic civilization itself." "That's exactly what I'm talking about," Maya confirmed. "The old way species competing for resources, empires expanding through conquest, Civilizations living in fear of threats like the Devourers, it doesn't work. It creates the conditions that allow darkness to flourish. But if we can create a system where every species benefits from cooperation, where knowledge and resources are shared freely, where conflicts are resolved through understanding rather than warfare. You're describing a utopia, General Hayes said skeptically. That kind of perfection has never been achieved in human history, let alone galactic history. Maya smiled, and for a moment the air around her shimmered with barely visible energy. General, 12 hours ago, you would have said that rewriting the fundamental nature of reality was impossible too. I'm not promising perfection, I'm promising something better than what we had before. And I'm promising that humanity will be at the center of building it. Over the following days, as news of the Battle of Earth spread throughout the galaxy, something unprecedented began to happen. Species that had been enemies for millennia started reaching out to each other through Earth as an intermediary. Ancient territorial disputes were resolved through negotiation rather than warfare. Technology and knowledge began flowing freely between civilizations that had previously hoarded their secrets. Maya found herself at the center of it all, serving as both translator and mediator for conflicts that spanned multiple solar systems. Her cosmic abilities allowed her to understand any language instantly and perceive the deeper motivations behind even the most complex political maneuvering. But more than that, her human perspective provided something the galaxy had never had before, a voice that could speak for the small, the weak, and the overlooked. The transformation wasn't without its challenges. Some species struggled to adapt to the new paradigm of cooperation. Others tested Earth's resolve, probing for weaknesses in the new galactic order. And there were always new crises emerging as the galaxy adjusted to its fundamentally altered structure. But through it all, Maya remained grounded in her human identity. She went back to Jefferson High School, though her return was somewhat complicated by her newfound fame. Jessica Martinez and her friends could hardly bully someone who had been featured on the cover of every major news magazine in the world, and Maya found herself dealing with the opposite problem: students who were so awed by her cosmic abilities that they couldn't relate to her as a person. It was during one of these awkward lunch periods, sitting alone in the cafeteria while her classmates whispered and stared from across the room, that Maya realized the most important lesson of her entire experience. Power, whether cosmic or social, was only meaningful when it was used to help others. The bullies who had tormented her were no different from the galactic empires that had terrorized weaker species for centuries. They used their advantages to make themselves feel superior rather than to lift others up. But Maya had chosen a different path. She had taken power that could have made her the supreme ruler of the galaxy, and instead used it to create a system where everyone could thrive. She had transformed from the girl who was mocked at school to the woman who was respected throughout the galaxy. But she had done it without losing the compassion and empathy that made her human. As she sat in that familiar cafeteria, monitoring 17 different diplomatic negotiations through her cosmic consciousness while pretending to struggle with her algebra homework, Maya Chen smiled. The girl who had once been afraid of high school bullies had become the guardian of galactic peace. And somehow, despite all the cosmic power and universal responsibility, she was still just Maya, still the daughter who wanted to make her parents proud, still the student who looked forward to graduation, still the young woman who dreamed of a future where no one had to face their struggles alone. The galaxy was a better place now, and it would continue to improve, as long as people remembered that true strength came not from the power to destroy, but from the courage to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Maya finished her homework and prepared for her next appointment with the Andorian Trade Council. After all, even cosmic guardians had responsibilities to keep.